right, we're here. I'm behind the scenes. I'm trying to fix our pictures and everything. And I did it.
You did.
Because before I was like, I was the big, and then you guys were tiny. I'm like, no. If I can hide myself, I would do that.
No.
No.
No. I always look forward to these. I really do.
That's always fun.
So I know you two went to a motivational personal growth business event last week, which I am so envious. I wish I could have attended.
We missed you.
Yeah, I missed you. What did you like about it? We don't have to say what you didn't like. That I'm not going to ask that question. But what did you walk away with that you're so glad you went?
I'll start. So I've read the book Soundtracks. This was John Acuff's.
Yep. Oh, there she goes. She's out again.
Oh no.
Yep. No, but it says she's in. So this is going to be her boo-boo, not my computer. Oh, you want to add talk? Well, here she comes. Walking down the street. Charlotte. Okay, Karen, do you want to answer the question?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Did you drop your phone?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
I cannot hear you.
Uh-oh.
Technical issues. My phone, somebody called me and that messed everything up. No.
It's okay. Just take a minute and fix it. Karen will answer the question.
Yeah. So, aside from simply going to an event, which
I'm going to go and come back.
Okay.
For most of my career, I've been blessed to be able to go to a couple of events a year. And ever since pandemic, that routine has been a little bit off, right? We didn't get to go for a few years anyways. So just simply going to the event itself was great. Being around people that are growth minded and the positive attitudes. And then I really enjoyed his presentation. So he has written 10 books, I think it was, and he probably focused for the most part on 2 of them. One was Soundtracks and the other one was his new procrastination. And both of them both presentations and discussions about that were fabulous. Yeah,
that book.
So, one of the things that I really enjoyed was, again, kind of bouncing into the soundtracks part was changing the soundtracks in our mind, right? Like, what do we replay in our mind over and over again and kind of shifting that and changing, retiring some of the old soundtracks and bringing in some new ones. That was really powerful. And then the other thing I really liked was he talked about not adding words to things that people say, right? Which is where coaching about the story, right? How much of that is fact and how much is that the story that you created?
Yep.
And so as an example, he was talking about his spouse talking to him about packing or what he was wearing or something. And he would take her words and he would hear her words like, are you taking that shirt? And he would hear, are you taking that shirt, you idiot? Because he was, he was presuming that she was putting him down for it or whatever. So that was a great takeaway.
Yeah. I like that. Feelings without facts create fiction, right? So, and some of that's history because and again, I don't know, so I'm not trashing anybody or being negative. However, maybe in the past she had said something about what he was packing and then he was regurgitating it, right?
Sure. Yeah. Or
I was going to say that I've read the book Soundtracks twice. I've actually maybe even 2.5 times. I really like his style of writing in that book just for like the writing itself. So as I'm writing my own book, I would go back and listen to his. I should actually read the book on paper since I'm writing. That's a struggle for this girl. But it was really interesting because I've read it a couple of times. And when I read it, I do stop and kind of think, but breaking it down in the seminar and actually not just listening to it and, kind of moving on, but breaking down the steps, I would actually recommend. He probably has a workbook, if I had to guess,
I'm sure there is
that.
Yeah.
And it was really, it was a moment that I needed to take for myself because I absolutely, as soon as I started writing down, I realized I had a really broken soundtrack. I actually made my year around that broken soundtrack. My word of the year is a broken soundtrack. so it was a little eye-opening. And I think I'd read that book 3 months ago. It was not long ago. Just doing the actual stopping and pausing. There's so much power in the pause. And when I'm listening to a car and audio, that's a lesson for me that I do need to stop and pause when there's something good and actually work through it right there, and not just think I'll come back to it because I'll forget.
Oh, and I do too. I write, or I'll write it down so that I do go back to it.
Yeah.
Because I'll go, what was it that I want to go back to? Yeah. Let me see if this is still not fixed.
I listen to a lot of books on audio, and I will end up like screenshotting when there's something so I can remember the chapter and kind of the time. And yet I don't often actually go back to it. So I love that idea of pausing and dealing with it right then.
Stopping and doing it. Yeah, especially now that we've got AI, because when I'm driving, obviously I can't go write it down. But I'm going to make a note to myself that when I'm reading something and there's a powerful note and it's giving an instruction, then I need to pause and go to Claude, go to Chat AI and start a conversation so that I can kind of work through it right then and there. Then I've done the work, and it'll make my drive go so much faster.
So as you both know, I drive often, right? Either drive to my mom's in San Francisco, or I just did a trip to Phoenix and back, which really kicked me in the you-know-what. However, I do listen to books. I listen to podcasts. And so when I'm listening to a podcast, I want to be organized. So I'll have my phone already set on notes. So I'll listen to a podcast, and then I'll have to stop it and then go, okay, page 6 or whatever, go back and listen to that again. And then I turn I am driving and I am paying attention. However, if there was a way for me to do that with hands off, that would be amazing.
Yeah, just go to Claude or Chat and pause your book or your podcast and just go to conversation mode because you're driving. So go to conversation mode, say, I just listened to this and I want to work through da-da-da-da-da, and it'll record the gist of it. Yeah.
One thing I think is really interesting, and Tanya and I had this discussion on my coach call, which was, I believe, the day after we got back.
It was.
And she had asked me for some takeaways and responded with something to the effect of, haven't we talked about that? Yes. And I think it's so interesting because, yes, we have. And yet, there's a lot of things that I need constant repetition on. But also, there's just times where we hear things differently. And I always relate it to kids, right? The things I told my kids 4 dozen times or more, and one other adult said it one time and it stuck.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So it's not just who's saying it. I think as an adult, it's more about when it's being said and if we're ready to hear it or ready to process it. So, a lot of the things that we hear at these seminars are repetitive.
Yeah. But it's in a different story, or they explain it in a different way, and it's more of a personal. It's their personal story. So sometimes when you hear their personal story, it triggers you to think of it in a different light. Stories get you there a lot of times.
They really, really do. And I'm going to add something in there. Thinking of what you were saying, Karen, is we go to the seminars and we come home, and hopefully, because I remember, that's why I asked for your takeaways, and then I write them down to follow up with you, is that a lot of those takeaways, like what Charlotte does, right? Like with Chatter, she rereads the book, and that's keeping that muscle strong, right? However, if we don't add it to our miracle morning or intentionally add it, we lose that muscle, right? If we don't do sit-ups, we have a 6-pack ab, but we don't do sit-ups for a year, it's going to disappear.
Yes.
And that's why we go back to the seminar, because a lot of us let that stuff disappear.
Yeah. When we talked a little bit about running, and Charlotte asked, when I did my marathon, and one of the things I remember specifically about it was I completed it that year because I was tired of putting it on my goal list, because I would go to the seminars, I would write goals, and then not follow up, not, open up that book and revisit that and continue to work on those things until one year I was like, I'm not writing this again next year.
I refuse to put it on the list again.
Yes.
That was me with weight loss this last year. It's like, done. Yeah, we're
I
done.
am so, and you've done such a phenomenal job, and I'm so glad that you hosted the 75 medium-ish, challenge, hardish challenge, whatever that was the name of our group. I did not lose the weight I had intended to or had hoped to. However, I'll take the 8 pounds anytime, right? And my Olympian overdid it, and now I'm scheduled for an MRI in 6 weeks, and that's how long it takes to get an MRI in Oregon. 6 weeks. It's now actually 4 weeks. I scheduled it 2 weeks ago. I scheduled it right after we had we finished, and I could stop.
Yeah.
And I overdid it, and I can't even walk to the mailbox right now.
Wow.
I had another Olympian the first time we did it that did the same thing. And that's why I put the breaks in. Like the 2 days we did 75 hardish. And we had some rules around, making sure that you have 5 actual exercises where you're getting your heart rate up.
Yeah.
But my girl, the first time we did it, she overdid it every day. Like she was pushing herself and running, and because it becomes a challenge. I mean, it's hard. Like when I go out and exercise, it's like I kind of want to beat my last time. And if you do that every day, your body can't handle that. So we put in the recovery day breaks.
Yes.
And it's so hard. Like I had to multiple times. I almost missed my 75 hard goals because I forgot it would be Saturday night. I'm like, oh, I need a recovery day, or else because you have to do 2 recovery days.
Yeah. Those were easy days for me.
I get bored with the recovery stuff because I enjoy the faster pace. And when it's boring and slow, I have to, but I have found a way around this on the recovery. The active recovery days, I will do a Peloton watching a show because I just don't pay much attention to the workout, and it keeps my heart rate right where it needs to be. Or I will, instead of listening to music is the downfall, because when a pump up jam comes on, I'm not going to sit still. so no pump up jams. We listen to nice, easy music, and that fixes the problem.
Okay, I'm gonna change the topic, because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so 3 days, I would say 85 to 90% of my coach calls are pushback from my clients on hiring a transaction coordinator or any help, but let's focus on transaction coordinating. And I know, like for you, Charlotte, right? An LOA, when you get to a certain point, you can't be a 1-person band, right? So Karen, you first, because I know you have a phenomenal transaction coordinator. I actually, a long time ago, used to use him. I think he's a god. So talk about what he does specifically, because I'm going to actually send this to my clients who are struggling. So what does Adrian do and help them push the start button?
Yeah, I can't imagine working without Adrian ever again. And so he does all of the paperwork, and much deeper than that, he actually keeps the flow going, right? So he only puts on documents what I ask him to put on documents. So I'm still the one directing what goes on them. However, he gets it done. So I can be out in the field showing property, and I know that we're writing an offer for somebody, and I can text him all the details that need to go on that offer. And he'll take it from there. So as soon as I get a client, he gets all of their contact information. He has it ready to go. And he is a full on foundational support system for me all the way through till the end. And he's part of, something I've talked about before, that my reviews they don't come in about Karen. They come in about Karen's team. And right. And that's huge in my opinion. So today I was out running around doing something, and I knew that we had some dates coming up close, and I just, sent him a text asking when the dates are. Immediately he had it there, because he works for a lot of people, so he has to be extremely organized, and he is. So the other thing too that I will say with Adrian, I really enjoy, is being able to bounce things off of him, because sometimes it's just good to have a second set of eyes on something. And he's really good at that, again, because he handles so many transactions, and I like how invested he is in this.
Yeah. And obviously he keeps you in compliance, and he keeps anybody on your team in compliance. And I know when I used him, and I was also a corporate coach, he knew I was a corporate coach full time, he'd say, Tanya, I haven't heard from you on this inspection, or Tanya, I haven't heard from you about removing contingencies. It's happening in 3 days, giving you a friendly reminder. And it was just not that I had forgotten. However, it was just so calming to know he was on it.
Yes, it is. He is also really good at picking up things for me. If, you know, as an example, yesterday I started something because I was in the office, didn't have all the details. I gave him the 90% that I had. And then we were able to handle the last 10% by text. And then by the time I got back to the office, everything was in my inbox.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so I remember this. Maybe it was a month ago. It could have been longer. It doesn't matter. Karen, you and I were on a call having a session, and you were complaining that Adrian had been sick for 2 weeks and that you hadn't had to be in DocuSign for like 2 years, and now he's sick and you're in it. Do you remember that?
I can't remember why he wasn't on. I'm not sure he was sick, but yes, I do recall having to get into DocuSign. I was just like, I don't do this anymore.
I don't do this anymore.
And it's, you know, it's good for me to stay on top of it and so that I can remember how to do it. However, leaving that behind and allowing him to take that on has given me so much freedom to do the other things that are really growing the business.
Correct. And that's exactly what I would want you to be doing, right? Is like, I have free time now to grow my business, to meet the people I need to meet. Maybe 20% go play pickleball and 80% grow your business. However, right, 80% to grow your business would be good. Yep. All right, so segue into Charlotte. I know it's the same thing, you know, for lenders, right?
Yeah. So this is really interesting that you bring this up, because I have this conversation with a lot of loan officers. I went to the summit where it was top producers. We're talking the loan officers that were at the summit did somewhere between 80 million and 1 billion a year.
Oh,
that's
wow.
With that. She's out of Colorado, and she's she's just grown her business leaps and bounds. And the cool thing about the summit was it was just top producers that would get up for 15, 20 minutes and just share what they do. Mm-hmm. And at the end, she'd ask them questions, and she asked each one of them, how much of your earnings, and remember, we're W-2'd for the most part, right? We're not self-employed. And so a lot of loan officers think, I don't need to reinvest my earnings. But she asks, how much of your earnings do you reinvest back into your business? The lowest amount was 20%. The average was 40%. So they were taking 40% of their income and reinvesting it into their business, whether that be a loan officer assistant or a junior or marketing or into the client marketing that they were doing. That's way bigger than what most companies are going to do, right? We do some, but when you're going big and extravagant and having these big events, which is what one person did, or having a team of 12 people that runs, like, do the systems part, the more of like the transaction coordinator, you know, that costs money, and that's something that they have to reinvest. And it was just so eye-opening. I've been saying this forever. Every top producer I've ever had isn't scared to put a large portion of their money and their commission back into the business. And I feel like that's that great divide. Then I have a couple that pinch every dime. There's nothing wrong with being wise about where your money is going, but these people won't spend a penny. Like, I can't spend this much. I need to keep it. And it's a catch-22 because they're also not the top producers, right? So they're not making as much, but they're stifled. They can't grow. They've got to this level, and they stay at this level because they can't reinvest in whatever is needed to take them to the next level. So they stay. And a couple of people have stayed for years, and they might be happy with that. That's fine. But if you want to get to that next level, the people that are getting to the next level in lending are investing and marketing and paying for things to grow their business.
Yeah.
And that includes an LOA.
Yeah. And it includes an LOA, maybe even a coach. And so with a couple of the realtors I've been working with and looking at their budget and looking at their marketing dollars. And so I'm glad you said between 20, 40%. I recommend 30. So I'm right in there.
Right in the middle.
It's like, right. And again, it's sometimes it's fear of letting go, or fear of spending money, or fear of it getting done incorrectly. All this stuff. I'm not saying go hire the first person you meet. We do want to interview them. And if they have other agents they work with, go talk to those other agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's,
and
we
remember,
gotta work past the fear.
this 20 to 30% was not on their licensing or on the things that they have to do. This is 20 to 30% in growth money. So either marketing or systems growth to support more business.
Yep.
That's a total mind shift for a lot of people, because you might spend 20 to 30% on the licensing that you have to have and the things that you've got to do, what you have to pay your brokers or whatever in your world. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about money on marketing and business growth.
Yep. Hey, the chat works this time. Hey, David. This is the first time in a couple sessions we've had the chat show up. So yay.
Hey, David.
Hey.
That's great.
Yeah.
I also think it's really important too that people don't wait until they absolutely have to have the help, because then hiring right can go wrong.
Yeah.
How many times in my world do you think I'm helping a client get through a TC or an assistant because at the time where I wish they had done it 2 months sooner?
Yeah.
How many times? Like 8? What would you guess?
Probably
100%.
Pretty much. Almost. Yeah.
And I mean, we all know the story about my current assistant and how I didn't have a lot of time to train her, and that wasn't because we waited to hire one. We just had to hire one in the midst of someone else leaving abruptly. And that was the most scattered, ridiculous hiring and training that there was. And thankfully she was patient through it.
Yeah. And I remember going through that with you. I do. Yeah. I do want to say, I'm not going to name a name because I haven't gotten permission. I do have a client though. She is a phenomenal realtor, has children, and is being proactive on hiring a TC and an assistant. And it is so lovely not to be in a space where they are in pure chaos, exhaustion, and overwhelm, blowing out their hormones and all the other things that are happening.
Right. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing in real estate with TC, sorry, Charlotte, is a lot of them are independent. So, hiring them on long before you need them really isn't a problem. You're only paying them when they're doing business for you.
Correct. Right.
It's a little different in our world. You have to actually hire them in our world. But I was just going to say that in order to do it the way you just mentioned, Tanya, you can't not have a budget, and you can't not know what you're doing. You need to already have your finances set up. So step one, get in and don't be living by the seat of your pants. That way you can't, because when you're doing it ahead of the curve, that means you are putting faith that you're going to have a curve and you're hiring ahead of it, right? Just slightly, not years ahead, but a little ahead of it. And man, to do that, the biggest difference there is not living hand to mouth and knowing where your budget is, knowing where you can trim and where you're willing
where
to
your
do
money
that.
is going.
Yeah, right? So that then you can do that. And then it allows you to grow exponentially. I always have this conversation, and you hit it a second ago, Karen. I tell people, is the reason you're working on the business because you can't step away from your business to do it? Or are you working in your business as an excuse to not work on your business? Yes. Because if that's the case, the assistant's not going to help. You're just going to find other stupid stuff to spin your wheels on and call it urgent. I see that all the time. I'm like, you have an assistant now, but now you're still diving into this instead of letting that go. You've got to make that. It's a real conscious choice. I'm going to have an assistant. I'm going to do 2 more hours here and go out and go work in our world. That I'm going to go out and network with more people. I'm going to go spend time growing my business. That way you see the trajectory.
Yeah.
It's very intentional.
Absolutely. Yes. I and that is true. That is another reason, so many reasons of fear, avoidance, right? Now my coach is actually going to see that I'm not lead genning, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I no longer have
it might be eye-opening. You may not realize that the reason you're not doing it is because you really just don't want to, or it's an uncomfortable zone and you like the busy work. I have been in that trap 100%. I think we all can get in that trap. Like the busy work just feels easier because it's what that John Acuff talked about it. It's the stuff that just, how to do. You jump in and you do it well. And you've now passed it off, but that's what you do well. So you end up coming back into that flow rather than going against it's natural. You got to really.
It is natural. Yeah. Getting out of your comfort zone is not easy. And again, it's intentionality and having support, having other like-minded, lenders, brokers, realtors, for me, coaches, and having mastermind sessions and coach sessions, right? It is not easy. And running a business is not easy, especially in real estate. Any real estate professional, wherever we are. So yes, anybody listening listens to this later, please hire a transaction coordinator sooner than later, right? And I'm pretty good at spotting excuses. Just ask Phil, he knows. Hi, Phil. He was going to try to get on today. Yes. Yes, because he knows. I have a certain look on my face when we coach and I start hearing excuses. My face just goes to this one, like just like that, Charlotte. Exactly. And he's like, "Oh crap, you heard that excuse." Yeah.
And I would say to anyone that doesn't have a transaction coordinator, just to maybe don't even make the commitment that they're going to handle all of your business from now on. Just try them for one transaction.
And that's exactly what I say. One transaction.
You'd be so amazed at how good it feels to have some, like the backup band, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if you did this when you had young kids. I did. They'd say, "Oh, Mom, I don't like that," and I know they never ate it before. I would say, "You need to take a no thank you bite." So I was like, "You need to take a no thank you bite. Try one," and it might be you picked one that wasn't worthy of hiring. Right. But we got to have a no thank you bite around transaction coordinating or having an LOA, whatever, wherever that is, an assistant in any business. We need to let go. Yeah. All right. So other stuff has happened in real estate. What's going on other than buying Remax? I think we've exhausted that topic. Anything else happening out in the world?
The rates were amazing today. I mean,
what?
It was a nice, it is very temperamental. So I get on and I always share when we have the bump. It seems like it's just really this, depending on news that goes out there, whether that's on purpose or not, who knows. But today was one of the best green days. I call it green because we started out the gate. We started lower, but the mortgage-backed securities were higher, which means your interest rates were lower. So it was so funny. I should say this every day. The day before yesterday, I was on the phone with a client. I'm like, "Hey, we've been hovering in the national average of like 6.4 to 6.6 for like 10 days. If we get to 6.375, we should jump on it." And then today it was like 6.25. I'm like, I'm going to say that every day. And
oh my goodness!
Let the market prove us wrong. We'll do it, and it'll probably jump back tomorrow. Who knows? It'll be crazy. It is so temperamental, and we have pushes and pulls. So oil prices going up causes rates to go up because of inflation.
Well, there goes Charlotte again. Charlotte, you're gone. I know. I'm really happy with my stocks right now. Can't say I'm happy with some of the other things going on right now. However, my stocks are doing well.
That's good.
Yeah. Here comes Charlotte. Yeah. So she gets all set up. And so anything worthy to bring up that's happening in the real estate world for you?
No, not really. I mean, there's, we've been arm wrestling with who's going to have listings that'll be shown as coming soon and who won't. And there's some new news on that, but it's still not really firm enough to be news. And it's more internal stuff, right? It's not really anything that's, I think, the public.
Well, and again, I won't share names, but we did have somebody in our private Facebook group, right? One of the gals I coach who mentioned that Zillow was only going to do coming soons for Keller Williams. So again, I don't know if that's solidified or where that came from. However, that sends me sideways.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the shift that was being talked about yesterday, that might be changing. And that's really the thing that with all of that has been just constantly being sculpted for the last probably 4 months, right? So it's a big topic internally, but as far as anything really affecting the public, not a lot of change there.
Yeah, of course. Okay, good. Well, we're at our half-hour mark, so this is the time I stop and say anything you want to promote. I know Charlotte's going to be dancing soon, and I did send a
oh, thank you.
Auction item. I did send in an auction item. Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome.
That's great. When is that, Charlotte?
So that is June 13th. So if you're anywhere near Louisville, Kentucky, if you're in Indiana, Cincinnati, lots of places, come in for an amazing charity event. This is the biggest soup kitchen in Louisville, longest lasting. It's been around forever, and they're open 365. This is their only fundraising event that they do. It's Dancing with the Stars style, called Let's Dance Louisville. So if you have an Airbnb or anything like that you would like to contribute as an auction item, that would be so amazing. I will absolutely just DM me in my social media, and I will give you a link that you can do that. Obviously, trying to get as much as we can in donations to make this a really powerful event for them. So it's June 13th. If you want to be entertained and have a great evening, come and watch us dance.
Oh, I wish I was close, because I would definitely be there. Yes, or airline tickets weren't as high as they are. My daughter looked to come from Phoenix to Oregon, so it's not that far. It's 2 hours from Phoenix to Oregon to come for her niece's 5th birthday. The cheapest, do not buy a seat. Like the very cheapest ticket was $782. She texted it to me.
Wow.
And typically it's about $250.
That's crazy.
Maybe $3. Yeah.
Charlotte, can still have a live stream on that?
I don't know if they'll have a live stream. I'm sure it will be recorded, so I should have the recording of it, but I'm not sure if it'll be live streamed.
Okay, so David says we need a mirror ball selfie.
Yes, we do. There we go.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, ladies. I thank you for you guys showing up. We'll see. I think we're going live in about 2 weeks again.
Great.
And please share them. And if you ever want to bring a guest on, you're welcome to. I think the screen will fit 4, right? Charlotte, you probably move over. I don't know what 5 would look like, but please feel free to bring anybody if you ever want to. David, if you ever want to join us, join us.
Come talk real estate and lending.
Yep.
Be on the screen with us.
Or business owner stuff. Because he's a right? Or business owner stuff. Yeah.
I mentioned that one of the things I did like about the ACUF thing was the people around us were not all real estate agents and lenders. Yep. It was really nice to have such a big diversity, all kinds of entrepreneurs, and all similar minded. It was really cool seeing that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Hi, Melissa. Speaking of realtors. So one thing that definitely both of you motivated me on today that I feel is needed again is that, and I don't know, Charlotte, if you've been on it. Karen, I think you took it quite a few years ago. My workshop with what's your relationship with money?
Oh yeah, that's
it's time for me to do that again. It is time for me to do that again, because I remember when I took this workshop and then I got certified to teach it. I was just starting out as a brand new business owner around my coaching business, right? So I left my corporate job. I'm now starting my own business. And you said it, Charlotte, and it was me exactly. I was pinching every penny, right? I didn't want to spend money on anything. And I didn't want to spend money on a coach, which I got over that quickly, right? Because I do have a coach. And that workshop turned it around for me, right? Where it's like, I've got to learn to let a little bit of it go. Like I want to know where it's going and make the right choices on where I send it. However, smothering it is not helping.
Right.
No. It's very interesting how as a W-2 employee, you get used to counting on that paycheck coming in, which is completely out of our control. Right. And as a business owner, what's in our control is making sure more paychecks come in. And yet it's really hard to spend the money and believe that there's going to be more checks coming in, which is so backwards to me when you really think about it. Yeah. So backwards.
Yeah. However, we get in those ruts, right? Or we have that chatter. Like I was having that chatter, and I'm so glad that I took that workshop, and then now I turn around and give that workshop. So you will see one next quarter for sure.
Good. It's a good one.
Yeah. Good. All right, David, thank you for showing up. Melissa, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you, Melissa.
And ladies, we'll be back in a couple weeks.
All right.
Bye, everybody.